Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Card. You need a card? You need a sheet? You're okay. Okay. You don't need a sheet. Okay. Where's the book? You got a book? Okay. All right. Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yashodanandana Bhattacharya Ranjana. Yashodanandana Bhattacharya Ranjana. Yamunatira Vanachari. Yamunatira Vanachari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Varavajikacharya Ashtotar Sri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Varavajikacharya Ashtotar Sri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavindra Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glory to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Hare Krishna. Now let me get this straight. You had a kirtan, you had a nice talk by Maharaj, and then you had the tacos, and now you're coming back for a second lecture? Well, I'm honored. We can turn the heat off now, I think. All right. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. On this 29th day of April 2025 in San Diego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. We are in the third chapter, Karma Yoga, 9th verse, text chapter 146. Okay. Yagyartat karmano nyatra lokoyam karma bandhanaha tadartang karma kaunteya mukta sangha samachara yagyartat karmano nyatra lokoyam karma bandhanaha tadartam karma kaunteya mukta sangha samachara yagyartat karmano nyatra lokoyam karma bandhanaha tadartam karma kaunteya mukta sangha samachara. Yagyartat karmano nyatra lokoyam karma bandhanaha tadartam karma kaunteya mukta sangha samachara. Yagyartat karmano nyatra lokoyam karma bandhanaha tadartam karma kaunteya mukta sangha samachara. Ladies. Yagyartat karmano nyatra lokoyam karma bandhanaha tadartam karma kaunteya mukta sangha samachara. Jai Rasha. Yagyartat karmano nyatra lokoyam karma bandhanaha tadartam karma kaunteya mukta sangha samachara. Yagyartat karmano nyatra lokoyam karma bandhanaha tadartam karma kaunteya mukta sangha samachara. Ami? Yagyartat karmano nyatra lokoyam karma bandhanaha tadartam karma kaunteya mukta sangha samachara. Bhakta Chad. I don't know what happened to him. Yeah, but he's not here. I think he's not feeling well. Anyway, I'll check up on him later. All right, word by words. Yagya artat, done only for the sake of yagya or Viṣṇu. Karmanaha, than work, anyatra, otherwise, lokaha, world, ayam, this, karma bandhanaha, bondage by work. Tat, of him, artam, for the sake, karma, work, kaunteya, O son of Kunti, mukta sangha, liberated from association, samachara, do perfectly. Now, there's going to be a slight little editorial change in the beginning of this sentence, so don't think I'm, going nuts. I'll explain it later. Work has to be performed as a sacrifice for Viṣṇu. Otherwise, work causes bondage in this material world. Therefore, O son of Kunti, perform your prescribed duties for his satisfaction, and in that way you will always remain free from bondage. Purport. Since one has to work even for the simple maintenance of the body, the prescribed duties for a particular social position and quality are so made that that purpose can be fulfilled. Yajna means Lord Viṣṇu or sacrificial performances. All sacrificial performances also are meant for the satisfaction of Lord Viṣṇu. The Vedas enjoin, Yagyo vai Viṣṇu. In other words, the same purpose is served whether one performs prescribed yagyas or directly serves Lord Viṣṇu. Krishna consciousness is therefore a performance of yagya as it is prescribed in this verse. The Varnashram institution also aims at satisfying Lord Viṣṇu. Varnashramachata bhata purushena parakpaman Viṣṇurāradyate. Viṣṇu Purana 388. Therefore one has to work for the satisfaction of Viṣṇu. Any other work done in this material world will be a cause of bondage. For both good and evil work have their reactions, and any reaction binds the performer. Therefore one has to work in Krishna consciousness to satisfy Krishna or Viṣṇu. And while performing such activities, one is in a liberated stage. This is the great art of doing work. And in the beginning, this process requires very expert guidance. One should therefore act very diligently under the expert guidance of a devotee of Lord Krishna, or under the direct instruction of Lord Krishna himself, under whom Arjuna had the opportunity to work. Nothing should be performed for sense gratification, but everything should be done for the satisfaction of Krishna. This practice will not only save one from the reaction of work, but also gradually elevate one to transcendental loving service of the Lord, which alone can raise one to the kingdom of God. Om Jnana-timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilitam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest of ignorance, but my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisances unto him and all members of Sri Parampara. So, yagya, as Prabhupada explains in this purport, yagya has two meanings. It means sacrifice, but it also means Viṣṇu himself. It's very interesting. And that implies, and that the meaning of this verse, that when yagya is properly understood and executed, it's part of devotional service. For instance, this is, the yagyas imply that you're giving something up and it's an austerity, right? But the wonderful thing about Krishna consciousness is that the yagya becomes a celebration. What's the primary yagya, the sacrifice? Sankirtan yagya. Yes, you have to sacrifice some time. On Sunday night, I sacrifice practically all my energy, and then I'm completely wiped out. I forget that I'm 77 years old. I remember after the kirtan, however. So it's a sacrifice, but it's a very joyful sacrifice, you see? Whereas you look at other sacrifices which are not in that, quite in that mood, there's a whole body of knowledge, a Vedic knowledge, for sacrifices you can perform for the sake of going to heaven. And there are many heavens, but let's just say the heavenly planets. Indra Loka is the common one. Why go to heaven? Because there's opportunities for sense gratification are thousands or millions of times greater. First of all, you live for a very long time in good health. You're not, broken down. You can live for thousands of years up there. And there's, all kinds of beautiful gardens. The temperature is perfect. Everything is ideal up there, But unfortunately, it's temporary. When you perform yagya, you get kind of yagya credits. Let's think of it that way. And at the time of death, if you have enough of them, you actually can go up to heaven, But then you spend them. Then you're spending your punya. Punya means pious credits, And at a certain point, they wear out, and down you come again. Krishna says this directly in the Bhagavad Gita. Say te tam bhukta. He's describing tam means they who follow those part of the Vedas that instruct you how to perform sacrifices to go to heaven. If they perform them properly for long enough, then they actually go. So then he says, te tam bhuktva svargalokam vishalam chine punye martyalokam vishanti. Which means, they te tam, perform that sacrifice, bhuktva, and they enjoy like anything. Bhuktva is one of the variants of the words bhoga, which means to enjoy, sense gratification. Svargaloka is the heavenly planet, the heavenly planets. Vishalam means vast, much better and longer and more intense material pleasures. But then, next line kind of punctures the balloon. Chine punye. When your punya credits are used up, chine become very skinny. Martyalokam vishandi. You come back again to this martyaloka. Now martyaloka, you already know what martya means. You know what mortal means? Mortuary. The same root. Death. The world of death. This is the world of birth and death. You know, we try to forget death. All the sense gratification, one of the main reasons why we try to enjoy is we can forget about death and mortality. You know, we try to exist in the moment, right? But you can't exist in the moment. Your body's constantly changing, and eventually you have to die. So what happened to your heavenly enjoyment? It's gone. Now you're fearful, you're in anxiety. What's going to happen next? Can I pay? Who's going to be elected? Oh my God, not him again. You know, there are all kinds of anxieties. So, and Gatagatam, he says, what did you gain? You just went and you came back, you're back where you started from. Because the key element here is that you have to ask the right questions. This is the beginning of everything. You know, not where can I get more sense gratification, where can I make more money, where can I do this? There's all kinds of questions. But no, who am I? Why am I suffering at all? And what's the final goal of life? Is there a final goal? And if it is, I want to know what it is. And I want to know how to get there. So that's enjoined, the beginning of the Vedanta Sutra. Sutra means these aphorisms. We've been over this before. So there's this famous aphorism, Atato Brahma Jigyasa. Now Jigyasa means you should inquire. And if you think about it, life is full of all kinds of inquiries. Mom, where are my shoes? You know, I mean, what's for dinner? You know, and you grow up, and the inquiries may change, but it's the same idea. You're looking for something. You're looking for an answer to a problem, you know. So this first sutra enjoins us, this is what you should inquire into. Where did everything come from? What is the source of everything? You see? And another one, which Lord Chaitanya taught in his teaching to Sanatana Goswami, the ideal approach to a guru. Who am I, and why am I suffering? Why is there such a thing as a suffering? Now, without that possibility of answering that question, it's like, that's just the way it is, you know. This is a world of suffering and enjoyment, and you have to try to eke out as much enjoyment as possible. You only live once, right? YOLO, isn't it? Isn't that a Shastra? Didn't they make T-shirts of it? YOLO, right? And what's the implication? Oh, let's have fun as much as possible. Grab all the gusto you can get, right? Isn't it? I think that's a beer commercial, right? So anyway, Krishna consciousness, the real Vedic culture, Bhagavad Gita rejects all that. We want to know who we are really, not what our designations are. You know, I'm so old, this is my color, this is, you know, the family I belong to, the nation, no, even the gender. All of that is temporary, because the body's temporary. You think about it, they're all inherent to the body, but you're not the body. That's lesson number one. You're not the body. You're the soul or the spirit within the body. And what's the difference? Well, the main difference, the obvious, is the body is temporary. The soul is eternal. And if you think about it, you know, that lesson is like, whoa, is that really true? I don't have to die? You know? Okay, now the next question is, well, what happens when this body dies? Well, you have to act in a certain way to get the best next body. And the best next body is not material at all. It's purely spiritual body. And the interesting thing is we already have it. It's just covered. In other words, we discover what our actual form and activities are, and most important, our relationship with God. That's how you discover it, by building that relationship. And the relationship, the process is one of different activities. This is what karma means. Karma, in a general sense, means activity. You see, something you do. And of course, it also means the result of it, you know, bad karma. But the basic thing is the activity. So there's karma yoga. Yoga means to link. It's related like the word yoke. You know, there's a lot of parallels in the English and the Sanskrit. So the yoga of activity. Well, what do we want to link to? We want to link to God. We want to link to that source of all happiness and eternal bliss and knowledge, you see. We don't want to link to heaven, you know, so that we can temporarily. It's still temporary. Even Brahma has to die. You know how long he lives? You've got it memorized. No, that's one day. How long does he live? No, more than 100. You're going to live just 100 days?
100 years.
Yeah, I know. You got to multiply it out. Anyway, the number is inconceivably long, although it has 300. He lives for that long, you know. But he's conscious that yes, my body is temporary. I may live a long time, but 311 trillion and 40 billion. Now the 40 billion is kind of a rounding error, you know. That when you're talking about 311 trillion, 40 billion of our years. Now what's interesting is that the sense of time and the passage of time is very malleable, you know. Because he lives so long, I'll tell you, this is a wonderful little pastime. It's nice to do it. So, by the way, I just want to let you all know, I have recorded the entire 10th canto. 10th canto is Krishna's Leela, with background music, and many of the verses I chant, you know, the prayers, like that. Not all of them, but, and that's, it's free. You just have to write to me and I'll give you a link and you can download it, you know. Not far out. I just realized, I was listening to it today, hey, I should make this more public. Because I say, well, send me your email, I'll send you my poems. That's another thing you can get. And I do have a recording of those. But, so that, you know, illustrating this is a nice pastime. So in Krishna's Leela, in Vrindavan, the wonderful thing about it is there that his most intimate associates don't even know he's God. And that's important for an intimate relationship. If I know that you're God, I'm thinking, oh boy, I better watch out, right? I better be careful. So he hides that, he covers that. So he can have, you know, friendship relationships, so his friends can tease him and climb on his back, you know, and insult him, and he loves that, you know. When his mother binds him, we have a little sculpture of it on the wall there. They forgot something. She's binding him, but she's not binding to anything. She's just tying him up. There's no mortar there. Anyway, but it's a very charming pastime. It's a heartwarming pastime, you know. But there's so many wonderful pastimes. So the one where Brahma comes in into the Vrindavan Leela. So the context is that Kamsa, who was Krishna's uncle, kind of, he got an omen. He's a demon, you know. He's a demon, and so he got an omen in the sky. This word, when the Krishna book begins, basically, after Krishna's birth, and after a few chapters, with the Kamsa driving the chariot of Vasudeva and Devaki. Vasudeva and Devaki have just been married. They're the actual parents of Krishna. You know, they serve that. And so Kamsa is driving the chariot. It's not really his sister, it's really his cousin. But in cousin sisters in India, they mix them up, right? Because they live together and everything. So then the omen says, "Kamsa, you fool! The eighth child of this lady will kill you. Going to kill you." So right away, the demon said, "Okay, I'll kill her. He's going to chop her head off." So Vasudeva, he's thinking fast, you know. So he says, "Kamsa, just hold up a minute, you know. This will be very bad for you. This is really what got him. This will be very bad for your reputation. After all, it's your sister, and the time of her marriage, and you're going to cut her head off. You know, that's very bad for you." So, and it's not her; it's her child, her eighth child. And Vasudeva, he was known as to be very honest. When he promised something, he would fulfill it. So he said, finally, and Kamsa was still, you know, he wasn't convinced. That, look, I will bring every child that's born to her to you, and you can do what you want, you know. But don't kill her. So he agreed, and then he did that. And Kamsa started killing those children. How horrible. So finally, Narada Muni, he's a very important figure in the Bhagavatam. He comes in every canto. And anyway, we'll get at him. But he's one of the Mahajans, one of the 12 authorities in devotional life and yoga. So he comes and he tells Kamsa, look, you were cheated. The eighth child is now in the womb of Devaki. So you better do something. So what happens is that Krishna arranges for Vasudeva for so they're in a dungeon. They're locked up now, because he's afraid. The 7 children have come and gone. There's a whole thing, and now the 8th child is there. So okay, gonna wait for it. And so Krishna arranges for Vasudeva to be able to leave the prison. He put all of the guards are put to sleep. All the shackles are come undone. By Krishna's mystic power, and he walks out and he gets to the river. And it's pouring rain, and so he's encouraged, just keep walking. He walks on the river. He can walk on water with Krishna, and the Sheshanaga comes as an umbrella, big snake, so like an umbrella, and take him across. So he goes across, and Yashoda has just given birth to a female child. So Vasudeva goes and exchanges Krishna for the female child and walks all the way back. And then as soon as he gets into the jail, all of the locks and the shackles are back on. And then the child is there, and she's, crying. And so all the guards say, "Oh, the 8th child is born." So Kamsa runs in. He wants to dash her like he did on the ground. So he dashes her, but she falls out of his hand. This is Maya Devi. This is Durga Devi. Huh? Durga Devi. Yeah, Durga Devi. And so she up into near the ceiling and said, "Kamsa, you fool! You can't kill me, and the one who will kill you is born somewhere else, So Kamsa is freaked out by that, what's going to. So it goes on like that. And so then Krishna, he's now raised by Yashoda and Nanda. They think this is their own child, because she forgot if it was, the labor and everything, she forgot if it was a male or female child. So that's what happens. Vasudeva and Devaki don't really they're actually the mother and father, but they don't get to raise Krishna, as a child. They're reunited later. So, okay, so that's the beginning of Krishna's Leela in Vrindavan. And Balaram is also there. There's a whole story about how he got there. He's a half-brother. Anyway, so then he's growing up. And then my whole point is now to get to the point where Brahma comes in. See? So Krishna goes out every day and plays with his friends. He grows up, And eventually, he's out playing with his friends. It's like the ideal job. Their whole job is to take care of the cows. So they go out, and the cows, there's plenty of grass and everything. They're just doing their thing and grazing. So the boys play all day. They have different games that they play. That's their job. Isn't that a nice job? So they're playing, and Brahma, so Krishna, as a little baby, he killed a demoness named Putana, who, for my money, she's like the worst demon, because her business was killing little children and drinking their blood. Oh, are you kidding? Wow. So anyway, she comes and she's deputed by Kamsa to kill Krishna. So she's a shape changer. By yogic power, you can do that. That's a real thing. And so she comes into, and Krishna's a little baby. He's like a couple of weeks old. And she's so beautiful, she's like the goddess of fortune, that she can walk right in, and Mother Yashoda, she says, "Oh, welcome, Oh, can I suckle the baby? Oh, sure, you're such a nice person." So she suckles him, there was poison on there, figured this will be the end of him. But it's Krishna. So he sucks her breast, but he sucks her life out at the same time, and she freaks out. She loses the shape changing goes out, and she's this big monstrous demoness, So that's the first demon he kills, and no one can figure out, this is just how this child did this. It must be the Lord who protected him, and they have all kinds of sacrifices. Anyway, it goes on like that. He keeps sending the demons, and they keep getting killed. So one of the demons, later on, just after he got qualified to herd the calves, they're crawling around. They're not, then they grow up a little bit, and they grow up, they can herd the calves. Then later on, Gopastami, I think, they get qualified to herd the cows. But he's still a calf herd with all of his boys, his boyfriends. So they're out herding the calves. And it's picnic time. It's lunchtime. So they're on the bank of the Yamuna. Everything is ideal, And the calves there, and they're happy. They're just grazing, But what happens is the calves kind of wander off. And the boys say, "Oh, my God, the calves are gone. What are we going to do?" So Krishna, you just keep staying on the lunch and on the bank. I'll go find the calves. So he goes and goes and he can't find the calves. And he comes back and the boys are gone. And what happened is that Brahma was looking and he was, what is this? Who is that? You know, that's supposed to be God? That's a little boy? He doesn't understand, you know, because he knows God is Narayan, you know. So he comes down and he doesn't hurt anybody. He just hides the calves in the cave, and he hides the boys in the cave and puts them to sleep. And so Krishna now can't find him. So what does Krishna do? Those who know the story. He expands himself in exactly the equal boys and calves. And each one, you know, everyone is different. They have the idiosyncrasies, how they dress, how they talk, and everything. Because Krishna is now going to, you know, playing with himself in the form of those boys. And the calves are also him, you know. And the cows also, you know their calves because they're going to suckle them, and you know. So he just goes back in the evening as normal, and all of the mothers and all of the cows get to personally suckle him. This is a great benediction. You know, it's a very intimate relationship. And suddenly, and somehow or other, their love for these calves and boys just increases more and more. You know, they don't know why. So it goes on like that for a year, which is just a moment of Brahma's time, because he lives so long that the time sense is different, you see? For him, a whole year on earth is just like a minute, a couple of minutes. So Brahma came back after a minute of his time. He said, I wonder what's going on down there. How's Krishna's, you know, dealing with this fact of his boys and calves are missing? Because he wasn't inimical, you know, he didn't hurt anybody. So he goes down and he sees, there's Krishna playing with the boys and calves, just like before. What is this? So he checks on the caves and they're all nicely sleeping, you know, for the whole year, you know. And he says, oh, I don't get it, you know. And he comes back out and finally he's bewildered. The whole pastime is called Brahma Vimohana, the bewilderment of Brahma. So Brahma, you know, he comes down on this, he has a swan carrier, he has 4 heads. He's the engineer for the whole universe. Each universe has its own Brahma. And but now he realizes he's just a servant of this little boy. He's really Krishna. So he comes down and he offers these wonderful prayers, which have a lot of commentary on them. And the reason I told it is the malleability of time, the sense of time. And even in our life we can understand that. As I grow older, time is speeding up, you know. Right? Anyone who gets older, have you all gotten older? Yeah. Right. So the older you get, the faster the time goes. So that's just a taste of what it's like, you know, for someone like Brahma or something. So the point is that, back to the verse, we got a little far afield. So whatever activities we do, and Prabhupada, he set up the movement in such a way that there was always something to do for Krishna, you know. If nothing else, Harinam. I mean, in the old days, you'd go out for 8 hours for Harinam. I didn't get that, wasn't enjoying that early. But you hear some of the old timers, you know. Yeah, we used to go out to Greenwich Village, famous Greenwich Village in New York. We get back at 2 o'clock in the morning, you know, yeah, because the action is in the evening there, you know. So there was always, you know, that activity, which is completely fulfilling. You know, you're meditating on Krishna's name, like you're singing Krishna's name and dancing, and you're preaching too. You're reaching people. Some people get interested, they join the dance, you know. It's a wonderful thing. So this is Yagyartar. This is activity that's simply sacrifice for Viṣṇu. There's no material motive. That's the whole idea. Because you have a material motive, then you know, you'll be disappointed if you don't achieve it. If you do achieve it, then that'll be another bondage to this world to come back again. In other words, activity simply for yourself is self-defeating, if I may say, because it means you're going to have to come back again, get another birth, a later age, disease, and death. So how to work in this world selflessly, simply for the sake of Krishna, and learn to take one's pleasure in Krishna's pleasure. The whole key to it, you know, I like this wonderful half a verse from the Sandarbhas. The Sandarbhas are philosophical treatises written by Jiva Goswami, who is recognized even by Westerners as one of the greatest philosophers who ever lived. And I haven't located just where it is in the Sandarbhas, but Prabhupada quotes this verse in the second canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam in the purport. So the whole essence of the perfection of Krishna consciousness, what we aim for, is this phrase, and I'll explain what it means. Bhajaniya padama purusha sukamatva swasukatvam. The whole thing is there. You know? He knows what it is. So bhajaniya means worshipable, and padama purusha is the Supreme Person, Krishna. So Krishna is supremely worshipable. Okay, so that's Krishna. Bhajaniya padama purusha sukha matra, only the happiness, only the pleasure of that Supreme Person. Swasukatvam, to take one's pleasure wholly and solely in giving pleasure to that Supreme Person. Now that, from the material point of view, that sounds like, what kind of a deal is that? What about me? What about my pleasure? But the wonderful thing is, because we're part and parcel of Krishna, and because Krishna is anandamaya bhyasat, means that he's always blissful. And you can say, well, that makes sense. If you were God, wouldn't you be always blissful? And I say, no, I think I'll try to be miserable a little bit. No, nobody would do that. Right? So that's Krishna. Whether it looks like, his mother is running after him and he's crying and he's saying, don't bind me. That's another kind of pleasure. It's God in such a mood and in such a form that this wonderful lady, who's his, eternal mother, can forget his God and chastise him out of love. You see, he's feeling her love. Otherwise, if he was the Supreme God, it would just be awe and reverence. Oh my God. Really? Don't punish me. So he loves being punished by his mother. So, and she takes tremendous pleasure in, giving him pleasure, making sure he's comfortable and clean and, everything just like she does for her mother. So all of his relationships are like that. His friends are enjoying giving him pleasure and playing with him like that, So that's the magic. And we have to start from where we are. So, just working and giving the fruits off to Krishna, you see. So, so many devotees live in the temples, and you clean the temple for Krishna, you cook, you clean the kitchen, you go out and you sell books for Krishna. They're Krishna's books about him. And then you take the money, you give it back to the temple, and it supports the temple. We have, a couple of devotees who do that full time here. And you find it very peaceful. Your necessities are taken care of, simple necessities. And all the complexities of trying to make it in the material world and, friends and enemies, it's not there, Yeah, and you can feel toward everybody, oh, look, let me just, even my I've got some regulars on my walk. I go up and cast. There's one fellow, I have to tell this story. There's a lady, she's probably out there, I think she's still attending the class. She was one of because this class goes back into the early 90s. And she would come regularly. And then the pandemic kind of messed things, so you couldn't come. She would check it up because tapas, he set everything up, and you can attend the class even if you're not physically here. So she would, I think she still attends when I see her, and she always comes on Sunday. And she has some Lakshmi, and so she buys books and she gives them out on the street. I don't think she sells any books. She gives them out. Marcy. I told her when I last saw her, I said, they made they misspelled your name when you, on your birth certificate. It's not Marcy, it's Mercy. I'm just kidding, she laughed. Because, so anyway, I ran into one of her customers on the way, a homeless guy, John. And I always, like Prabhupada, I always say good morning to people, and sometimes I get a good morning and they see me, I'm dressed like this, just Hare Krishna. But John, he said, oh, nice to see you. I met one of your friends. I said, who's that? Oh, this lady came and gave me this book, one of our little books. And he was reading it, so he's interested. So he gets a Hare Krishna, And then he put the book in one of these little library things that they have, a free library, little box by the church, He wanted to share it. But then he wanted to read it again, but it was gone. Someone had borrowed it. He said, don't worry, I'll give you some more books. So I came back and gave him a pack. Oh, thank you. So, it's a little exchange. But this is what you can see Srila Prabhupada was feeling when people were taking to Krishna consciousness and chanting Hare Krishna. It was such an incredible thing because he struggled so hard to do that for years. And finally, his spiritual master, who had long ago passed away, this was in the, 66, when 65 when Prabhupada actually came. And he was, he was already 68 years old. His health wasn't that great. And he tried to do it in India, but he couldn't really spread it in India, Krishna consciousness. So his spiritual master, as you knew, wanted him to travel abroad. He wanted to spread it, out of India. So instead of going to England, which his godbrothers had done and failed, he said, well, if I'm going to fail, let me fail somewhere else, in New York, the most famous and biggest, city in the world. So somehow or the other, he had no money, he begged a passage from a devotee a lady who happened to own a shipping line. She was a nice devotee in Bombay. And she said, no, you're too old for me, you'll die there, I'm not going to let you go. So Prabhupada, he sat in, he had to sit in, on her front door. And there's a picture of him chanting Hare Krishna. And finally said, okay. So he got a free passage. It was August, September of 65. He got so seasick, he had 2 heart attacks. The third time he said, Krishna, if it happens again, I'm not going to make it, So Krishna came to him in a dream. And he said, don't worry, I'm going to take charge of the ship, So from then on, it was Atlantic. During the hurricane season, it was August, September, which is usually and it was just like a lake, And the captain had his wife with him, to company. And she was joking with Prabhupada when they finally came to Boston and then New York. Can you come back with us? Because we've never had a crossing like that before. So, anyway, it was just the most, when you read it, it's the most courageous, heroic thing. And it's all for us. He did it all for us, to somehow plant the seed of Krishna consciousness in a proper way and somehow start a movement that could train people in it. And now it's all over the world. So we're benefiting from that. I'm sorry, I'm kind of going far afield from this. But the whole idea here is that we have to accept the training in our life to be able to give as much as possible to Krishna of the fruits without being attached, because those attachments to the fruits, and normally you get so many attachments, will bring you back, and that's part of your karma, part of it's in your mind. And we need to aim to be completely unattached to this world by the time we leave this body, so that we don't want to come back again, because if we want to come back, Krishna will let us come back. So that's part of the psychology here. And this verse is very famous. That whatever we do should somehow, just like eating, we don't just eat, we're supposed to honor the prasadam. This is a gift of Krishna. This is how we connect to Krishna. It's a real blessing, and that way everything can remind you of Krishna. All right, so we go on for another one. Sahayagya prajasristva purovacha prajapatihi anena pasadishadvam Eshavostvishta kamaduk. Now, the Lord of all creatures can be either Viṣṇu or Brahma here, just to let you know. In the beginning of creation, the Lord of all creatures sent forth generations of men and demigods along with sacrifices for Viṣṇu, and blessed them by saying, be thou happy by this yajna, or sacrifice, because its performance will bestow upon you everything desirable for living happily and achieving liberation. Purport. The material creation by the Lord of creatures, Viṣṇu, is a chance offered to the conditioned souls to come back home, back to Godhead. All living entities within the material creation are conditioned by material nature because of their forgetfulness of their relationship to Viṣṇu or Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Vedic principles are to help us understand this eternal relationship. As it is stated in the Bhagavad Gita, Vedaischa sarvaya ahameva veja, which means the Lord says that the purpose of the Vedas is to understand Him. In the Vedic hymns it is said, Patim Vishvasyatmeshwaram. Therefore the Lord of the living entities is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Viṣṇu. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, also 2.4.20, Srila Shukadeva Goswami describes the Lord as Pati in so many ways. Shriyak Patir Yagpati Prajapatir Diyam Patir Lokapatir Dharapati patirgatis chandaka vishni sattvatam pasidatam me bhagavan satam patihi. The Prajapati is Lord Viṣṇu, and he is the Lord of all living creatures. All the excuse me. Boy, what's going on here? Do all of your books have a problem? I have a problem here. Well, this printing, the sentence is not completed. We start a new sentence on 148.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, I think it's just repeated. Yeah, the line is repeated. Okay, we'll start again. The Prajapati is Lord Viṣṇu, and he is the Lord of all living creatures, all worlds and all beauties, and the protector of everyone. The Lord created this material world to enable the conditioned souls to learn how to perform yajnas, or sacrifices, for the satisfaction of Viṣṇu, so that while in the material world, they can live very comfortably without anxiety, and after finishing the present material body, they can enter into the kingdom of God. That is the whole program for the conditioned soul. By performance of yajna, the conditioned souls gradually become Krishna conscious and become godly in all respects. When you talk of yajna, Prabhupada always mentions this. In the age of Kali, the Sankirtan yajna, the chanting of the names of God, is recommended by the Vedic scriptures, and this transcendental system was introduced by Lord Chaitanya for the deliverance of all men in this age. Now, I think there was a nice kirtan next door, right? So you were all performing the yajna, Sankirtan yajna. Okay. Lord, Sankirtan yajna and Krishna consciousness go well together. Lord Krishna, in his devotional form as Lord Chaitanya, is mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam 11.532 as follows, with special reference to the Sankirtan yajna. Krishna varnam tvisha krishnam sango pangasta parshadam yagyai sankirtana praya yajantihi sumedasaha. In this age of Kali, people who are endowed with sufficient intelligence, sumedasa, will worship the Lord, who is accompanied by his associates, by performance of Sankirtan yajna. Close quote. Other yajnas prescribed in the Vedic literatures are not easy to perform in this age of Kali, but the Sankirtan yajna is easy and sublime for all purposes, as recommended in the Bhagavad Gita also in 9.14. So, this is the unique thing about this Bhagavad Gita as it is. Prabhupada always brings it back to Krishna consciousness. You won't find that in other Bhagavad Gitas. But soon after this verse, yeah, because this is talking about the incarnation of Lord Chaitanya, that he is Krishna Varnam, he belongs to the Varna of Krishna, or he's always saying Krishna, 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 and his complexion is not blackish like Krishna's, but it's lighter and so forth. So soon after this verse, a couple of verses after this verse, is the description of the glories of Kali Yuga. Not just Kali Yuga, this Kali Yuga. Because there's a cycle, 1,000 times it goes in one day of Brahma. One day of Brahma? No, just one yuga or less. Yeah. So, and Krishna, okay, so every day of Brahma, you know, there's all of these cycles of yugas. Satya, Treta, Dwapara, Kali. Satya, Treta, Dwapara, Kali. And goes around and around thousands of times. And we're so fortunate that just a mere 5,000 years ago, don't forget, one day of Brahma is 4 billion. Oh yeah, 8, right, that's just the 12 hours. 8 billion, 640 million years. Now, it was only 5,000 years ago that Krishna appeared, and only 500 some odd years that he appeared again as Lord Chaitanya. And here we are sitting here, you know. In other words, we won the lottery. All we have to do is cash in. Just chant Hare Krishna. Get serious, you know. So this Kali Yuga is glorified in the Bhagavatam, and it says, Kaling Sabhaji Yantjariha Gunagya Sadabhaganaha Yatta Sankirtanenaiva Sarva Svarto Bilabhyate. So we begin at the end, the fourth verse, fourth line. Sarva Svarta, the word swa-arta. Arta is something valuable, usually money. But in this case, it's not money. It's sva-arta, the goal of the soul, the thing that's really most valuable for the soul. All of the subsidiary goals and the supreme goal of the soul are achieved in this Kali Yuga, unlike other Kali Yugas, because just by Sankirtan, just by congregational chanting of the holy name, which is the central practice of Krishna consciousness. So sarva swarta abhilabhyate. And in the 12th canto, this is kind of reiterated, where it says, Kaler doshana de rajan asti eko mahanganan kirtanadeva krishnasya mukta sangha param vrajate. There's a whole litany of the ills and evils of this Kali Yuga. Marriage will just be an imagination. Do we know this one? The government leaders are out to just exploit the people, get the taxes, and yeah, right. So there's a whole litany in the 12th canto. Then it comes with this verse. Kaler doshanade rajan, O king. This is Shukadev, a great yogi scholar, speaking to a king who was cursed to die in 7 days. And so he said, okay, well, I'm just going to hear the Bhagavatam for 7 days. And he did, by the Ganges. So he says, O king, Kalir doshanade rajan, this Kali Yuga is an ocean of faults. Do we need to be convinced of that? The Kali Yuga is an ocean of faults. But there's one very great quality in this age. Asti eko, eko means one, mahangunan, one great quality. Kirtanadeva krishnasya mukta sangha param vrajate. Just by the congregation of the chanting of Krishna's name, especially Hare Krishna mantra, one can become mukta sangha, which means free of all these material attachments, and param vrajate, go back home, back to Godhead. Is he? So who would not do that? Only a fool, right? You're all smart in here because you all do it to one degree or another. So that's also a predictor of the Hare Krishna movement, And there's one verse at the very final verse of the Bhagavatam. When it begins? Nama Sankirtana. Yes, that's the conclusion. Nama Sankirtana says, Sarva Papa Pramuchate. I forget the Sanskrit now. But it says, I offer my obeisances unto Lord Krishna, the congregational chanting of whose name brings all perfection, and the offering of obeisances unto whom eradicates all one's sinful reactions, like that. So right in the end, that's Nam Sankirtan is mentioned, so that it's so essential.
The last part eradicates all what?
Sinful reactions. Yeah, so that you're free to go back home, back to God. So this is all by way of working up to our final kirtan with the arti, so we can all chant from the heart. All right, so there's not much time left, just enough time for one or two little poems. So this is the realization of, first of all, the name Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and Hare is actually Radharani's name. It's a calling out to Radha, who was the origin of all the goddesses of fortune. She's all the goddess of fortune. So this is a verse that describes the glories of chanting the names of Krishna and Radha. Radheti nama navasundadasidu mugdham, Krishneti nama manurabhatagara dugdham, Savakshanam surabhiraga himena ramyam kritvata daiva bhivamera sanechadarte. An excellent fresh nectar drink with endless subtle taste. Now just think, it's a Hare, Hara. An excellent fresh nectar drink with endless subtle taste, such is the name of Radha, by whom all three worlds are graced. Condensed milk that is wonderfully delicious, thick and sweet, such is the name of Krishna, in whom all attractions meet. Now mix these drinks, O thirsty tongue, and add the cooling, fragrant spice of love, a prize the wise will try to buy at any price. And then at every moment drink this beverage most fine, and make my heart supremely blissful, peaceful, and divine. There you go. All about chanting Hare Krishna. And which we're going to do. We better adjourn so we have plenty of time. Actually, we have one more minute, poetry time. So, this is a verse. I taught to Balaram. All you know Balaram, right? I taught this to him when he was a Bhakta, Bronson. This is by Bilvamangal Thakur, but it's not in the Krishna Karnavati. He wrote a lot of other verses. Krishna is throwing a tantrum, okay? Little Krishna. Nitam navanava nitam kainatapitam paya kame murari. Itisamode latantam bhuma balam namami gopalam. Who stole my butter? Who drank my milk? And where can my flute be found? I bow to the cowherd child who shouts these words as he rolls on the ground. Okay? You can all learn that well. It's in my poetry file. Send me an email. All right. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hari Hari Bol.